So in the last video, we were talking about how we construct a mental sense of self, how we construct our identity. And we got to this paradox where if anything that you're doing is being motivated, even at a very subtle level, by changing something fundamental about your experience, then even if you get the thing that you're looking for, you're just subtly reinforcing this mechanism that is finding something wrong, that is finding something to change, that is finding something that needs to be different about your present moment experience. You're just reinforcing that. So then the question is, well, how do you get something? How do you take action in a way that isn't subtly reinforcing this mechanism? And that brings up the distinction between what I call a yogic approach to practice and a view-based orientation to practice. And a yogic orientation to practice, or at least what I call a yogic orientation to practice, is to say, I want to be enlightened, so I'm going to meditate, right? I want this thing, so I'm going to do this other thing to get it. A view-based orientation is a little bit different, and it starts from a different place. View is a term that I take from the Tibetan Buddhist traditions. So I'll talk a little bit about their view first. And in the Tibetan traditions, in the tradition at least of Mahamudra, Dzogchen is a little bit different, but in the Mahamudra tradition, you do a bunch of different meditations to deconstruct your sense of self. They're called the ordinary and extraordinary emptiness practices. But you get to a certain point where doing a practice isn't going to help anymore because it just reinforces again this same mechanism. In the view of Tibetan Buddhism, the baseline assumption is that everything is already awakened mind. Everything is already an expression of Buddha mind. So anything that you try to do to get to Buddha mind is going to be a negation of Buddha mind. So what do you do at that point? Well, you take the view, or you hold the view. You say, okay, everything is Buddha mind. So I'll just sit with that. This experience right now is already an expression of Buddha mind. What happens at that point? Well, you have experience. You take the view with the experience. You have experience. You have experience. You have experience. Eventually, what happens is you're going to have an experience that confirms that view for you. And it'll allow you to relax into that view a little bit deeper. And to continue to relax into that view a little bit deeper. And to take that view into any experience in which you find yourself. Holding the view is the practice from first having an experience of Buddha mind up until Buddhahood, to being a Buddha. All you're doing is holding the view. The view of dreaming is a little bit different than the view of Tibetan Buddhism. The view of dreaming is to say the wholeness, the fullness of the creative and generative activity that is at the heart of the universe, that's showing up right now as your life. Your creative fullness and potential is present right now. And it's showing up however it is that you're showing up. And like Tibetan Buddhism, so there are different views in Tibetan Buddhism. And there are many different views within dreaming that I work with to help people into this sense of the fullness of their creative potential and its presence. But the basic idea is the same. And the metaphor that I love for this, and it came out of one of my dreaming session that I did with someone, is a caged bird. So we're like these beautiful songbirds sitting in these cages, and we don't realize that the cages are something that we're doing. And so we're singing the song of, boy, I sure wish that I was free so I wasn't in this cage so I could sing the song of freedom. As long as you're singing that song, you're stuck in the cage. So the trick is to begin to sing the song of freedom. As soon as you sing the song of freedom, you're free. There is no cage. You're already out of it. Now, in reality, practically what happens is you'll sing the song of freedom and you'll be like, freedom, 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 freedom. And then you'll all of a sudden, bam, smack up against the iron bars of your cage again. You'll be like, what the hell happened? I was singing the song of freedom. Oh, I wish I was free. And then you catch yourself, oh, wait a minute, I'm singing the song of being trapped. You sing the song of freedom again, and you release the bars on your cage. So those bars in dreaming, they're what I call knots. So when you find a knot, you find a way where you feel like you're not free, where you feel like you're not showing up in the way that you want to, then you find the intelligence underneath it. You find the way that it's showing up as your creative fullness and your potential. There's a lot to say about this, obviously. I just want to give two very quick caveats. The first one, and they're really the same, but the first one is, if you're standing outside in the freezing rain, then go inside. Right? So this is a practice for these very subtle and fundamental dynamics of who we are. It's not saying that if you feel cold, don't put a sweater on and just keep saying to yourself, "Oh, actually, I feel warm. Actually, I feel warm." This is not a way of negating your experience. So it's very important to have a sense of what your experience is. But your experience is not ultimate, right? So what a knot is in dreaming, and we'll talk about that more in the next video. It'll be about knots. But what a knot is where your sense of what you desire and your sense of what is possible have kind of gotten messed up. They've gotten a little bit more complicated than just, oh yeah, what I want is actually possible. If what you want is possible and clear and obvious, if you're hungry, then go get a sandwich, right? If you're hungry, don't sit there and think, actually, this is just an expression of non-hunger, right? That would be a misuse of a practice of you. If you're hungry, you should go out and get a sandwich.